All right, so this is going to be me talking about She-Hulk, the She-Hulk finale, but we'll touch on episode 8 really quick. So we're going to be starting off positive. I liked episode 8. I thought it was the best episode of the show, not just because of Daredevil, but because it had to elevate itself for Daredevil. There's this case with this guy Leapfrog. He's kind of like a parody, kind of a Bruce Wayne. He's rich and he has everything frog based, like Batman has, the Batcave stuff. He has the lily pad and things like that. He has a malfunction in his suit, so he goes to sue Luke Jacobson, the guy that, the designer stereotype that does She-Hulk's suits. And so, he ends up suing him, and that causes a rift between She-Hulk and him. But it turns out it was all Leapfrog's doing because, he put the wrong fuel in the boots or whatever, so it's user error, so it gets thrown out. But Daredevil comes in to represent Luke Jacobson because, he made him the suit and things like that. And at some point, in that court case, Jen was trying to get the list of all the heroes that he's made suits for, and obviously Daredevil would want that because he still has his secret identity, right? So, the Sokovia Accords have been repealed. I saw some people being upset about that. We kind of dealt with it already. It needed more of a finality to it, but I'm fine with it. Not being a thing anymore. It's fine, especially now that you have all these superhero, superpowered people running around. At this point, who cares? um, at this point, whatever. So, Daredevil ends up winning the case because he smelled the jet fuel in the boots, and they end up going to legalese or meeting up at legalese, and he buys her a drink, and they have pretty good chemistry. And there's also a line that I really liked. I would have liked it more if it wasn't in the trailer. I think it was in the second trailer, but it was pretty good.
You see, the way I see it, Jen Walters can use the law to help people when society fails them. And She-Hulk can help people when the law fails them. So you can, if you choose.
Be the best of both worlds.
Then Daredevil leaves. She leaves. Leapfrog calls her. He's like, "Oh, I'm getting chased by somebody." She goes there, and it's Daredevil. And so they have a fight, and it's great, right? I like the choreography and things like that. Daredevil's flipping around. She can't, hit him or anything like that. She ends up like destroying the parking garage or whatever to get at him, and she still couldn't do it. A little bit of corny dialogue from him during that and things like that, but other than that, it was pretty good. And She-Hulk, even though she's a lawyer slash superhero, even though she's not a superhero yet, she destroys things. She throws a car at him, and one the car thing was too much. I was like, you just threw somebody's car. This is a guy in a Daredevil costume jumping around, like I mean, in a devil costume. It's a bit much, right? A lawyer, if somebody's a lawyer superhero, you would think they would make a point not to cause too much property damage because they would be held accountable for that. Like that's something that they deal with on a regular basis in their job, but whatever. So she beats him by doing the thunderclap. He has superhuman hearing, so of course he's going to be affected by that. And he hit a car. So after that, they get to talking, and once again, they have pretty good chemistry.
Are you like a superhero? Like the gold devil?
I'm Daredevil.
So after that, they decide to go after Leapfrog at his place, the Lily Pad. Daredevil has a hallway scene that's reminiscent to the Netflix stuff. Not as good, but it's still pretty good. It has good choreography. And then She-Hulk smashes in, and her CGI looked really bad at that moment too. That looked really bad. But whatever. They end up confronting the dude. Daredevil's fighting the people while She-Hulk is talking to him. Saying like giving him lawyer advice and things like that. Eventually, he ends up just jumping out of the window and hurting himself, and that's how he ends up getting arrested. I didn't even say, so the reason why they're going after him is because he kidnapped Luke Jacobson, so to make him a new suit. So whatever. If you wanted a new suit, he may have made you a new one. I mean, he would be insulted, but like you're so rich, he probably wouldn't care. But whatever. That's the reason why they were going after him. I didn't mention that. So Daredevil and She-Hulk go back to her place. And they hook up, even though he's still in his Daredevil costume, which doesn't make sense with him caring about his secret identity, right? But whatever, they hook up, right? Which is fine. Some people that had problems with that. I was perfectly fine with it. They have chemistry. And after that, he does the walk of shame in his Daredevil costume, with his Daredevil boots in his hand. And I was thinking, okay, now this is amusing, right? I did laugh, but this is where it's like, okay, you've gone too far because we got some character and story issues because, I mean, he still cares about his secret identity, right? Like, why would he the fact that he even went there at all in his Daredevil costume is ridiculous. But to hook up with her in his Daredevil costume and not change first. But she has like clothes that are too big for her, things like that for She-Hulk. You know, I feel like he would prefer to put on some clothes that are a little too big rather than to be doing the walk of shame in broad daylight in his Daredevil costume. Is he going to walk all the way to his hotel room in his Daredevil costume? So that's where we getting issues there. But I thought it was okay. If it was up to me, I would have cut that out though. So pretty good episode. And then we have the ending where we get right back into our regularly scheduled bullshit. um, she stops it and she's like, "Oh, isn't this supposed to be over?" But then the gala happens. The gala that was barely set up earlier. Like I forgot what episode that was. I don't know. I think it was the 7th episode. I think it was the ghosting episode. The female lawyer of the year or whatever. Somehow I guess she forgot that it was the next day. And Luke Jacobson, even though he ripped up the dress that he originally made for her, I guess he was able to just make a new one right away for it. Okay, all right. That doesn't really make sense, but fine. It really does feel like it's just tacked on at the end. It does not need to really be in this episode at all, but we got to set up the finale. So she goes to the gala. All the female lawyers end up winning, right? They all win. So it wasn't even a real achievement or award. It was just, I guess, to make the firm look good or look progressive. Which, okay, that's actually kind of clever in a way. But then the screen behind them gets hacked, and Intelligentsia somehow hacked it, and they're playing all the private stuff that Josh got off her phone. So a bunch of private stuff, things like that. But then they also start playing her hooking up with Josh because I guess he set up a camera that she never saw. Okay, he took a picture of her, he took her blood, and he took video of them fucking, and I guess she just never knew. She never knew any of that. Like, that's really dumb. But an understandable reaction. She decides to just destroy the screen rather than have that play out. But then the people start running away like she's a monster automatically because she's growling at the same time as she's doing it. That's nothing, and it's understandable, right? She still seems to have at least some control. I thought she was just going to Hulk out, just lose it. But she didn't, so there's nothing really to it. She crashes through a wall, grabs one of the guys in masks, because for whatever reason they showed up there in masks. And then she gets arrested, and the guy that she was holding with a mask on just gets away. They don't seem to care at all about what happened, what just got shown and stuff like that, right? They don't seem to care, it seems like, but whatever. You see, you're making a statement, I guess, but you're making it in a way that just isn't really written that well. But anyway, that's episode 8. So now we're on the finale, and I got plenty to say about this one. This episode sucked ass, and I'm gonna make sure not to make this a rant because I'm just not that. I just don't want to rant right now, but I hated it. It took me forever to finish this episode. It's 30 minutes. It probably took me like an hour because I kept pausing it because I was like, what are y'all doing? So it starts off with a cool intro. I was like, okay, it's starting all right. Where it has it's kind of like the Lou Ferrigno, like the old Hulk show, but with She-Hulk, Savage She-Hulk, and even Mark Ruffalo's there too, and it was kind of fun, right? It has like a narrator over it and everything. I was like, okay, cool, right? It would have worked better if she'd have actually gone Savage She-Hulk last episode, but fine. It was actually kind of creative, and I liked it. And then back to the bullshit. So she's in jail, and they seem to not care at all about what was shown on that screen at all. And she's going to be released, but she has to wear an inhibitor, and she can't be She-Hulk anymore, right? Because she destroyed a screen that was showing private information of her, right? And because she busted through a wall and grabbed someone. That's it. Now, if she'd have actually gone Savage She-Hulk, which is what I wanted her to do, this would make more sense, right? They're treating her like she just destroyed a city, like she just pulled an actual Hulk, but she didn't. She destroyed a screen. Like it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I don't like it at all. So then we have to rush through all this, like a lot of the show, where she gets released. She has the inhibitor on, right? The inhibitor works, I think, better for like the mutants and stuff because like it's inhibiting their mutant gene specifically. I don't know how the inhibitor works with other superheroes though. Like how are you targeting their superpower within their body, like with Hulk and like Abomination Like could Spider-Man have it on, and so then he can't climb walls? Like, how does that work specifically? I wouldn't be thinking about that if this actually was a comedy or a sitcom. It is not. I've been saying that ever since the show started. It is not a comedy or a sitcom. So I can't help but think about things like that. But we're rushing through it. She, I guess, got fired. You never see her boss in this episode, so you didn't actually see her get fired. But she can't be She-Hulk anymore, so I guess that makes sense that she wouldn't be a GLK and H anymore. So she's moving her stuff out of her office, right? She goes to see her parents. Her parents are like, "Hey, you can move in with us." And then she's immediately moving her stuff out of her apartment and going to live with her parents. Like, just immediately. I think all of that happens, I think it's under 5 minutes or around 7 minutes or something like that. It's really quick. Like, it's rushed through that. Like, just speed run through that shit. The whole thing feels forced and rushed. It doesn't work. The lawyer dude, the misogynist dude who's there only to say misogynistic shit, because we're not making enough of a statement with the villains in this, which I'll get to. So we have to have the misogynistic lawyer character too. He's on the news lying that they dated for years and she's always been crazy or something like that. Ridiculous. I don't know why a lawyer would go on TV and just blatantly lie like that, but whatever. Uh, he's not the smartest guy anyway. So there's a point where she breaks the fourth wall. She's laying down in her bed. She's really at a low point. She's saying, "I was just getting used to being She-Hulk." And it's like, well, when did that happen? Last episode, maybe? Well, not really, because we're dealing with Daredevil stuff. The 7th episode, kind of, you started to kind of do that. But it was really just her accepting Jen, not even necessarily She-Hulk, but whatever. The narrator's coming in, and she's like, "Hey, whoa, stop." So I actually thought that was cool. Like, most of the fourth wall stuff has felt pointless. So it's like, okay, you're actually doing something with it. That's clever, right? Kind of like, you have like Daffy Duck in that one cartoon where like, they have the pencil and he's talking to the person that's drawing him and stuff like that. I expected there to be more fun stuff like that in this show, and there really hasn't been. I mean, I think there's one episode where she only breaks the fourth wall once, so it's been real inconsistent anyway. She's, down on her luck, not feeling great about the whole situation, so she decides to go see Abomination. Right? He's not answering his phone, but she's gonna go down there anyway because he has like an open door policy. Come on, whenever you like. She goes down there, hangs out with the guy from the Wrecking Crew for a little bit. Then Nikki and Pug, they decide to have this plan, right? Nikki sends this a video of her dancing in college, which wouldn't cause any kind of scandal at all. It's just her just dancing, right? You can kind of see her thong. It's nothing really. But Intelligentsia loves it because she makes an Intelligentsia account or whatever, sends it. And not only is she embraced, but she's immediately invited to some secret event that Intelligentsia is having. Go figure. I mean, you guys oh man, we've been researching this and it's been coming up cold. Apparently all you had to do was just go on the site and make a profile, I guess. I mean, I don't know. This is just so bad. It hasn't even gotten as bad as it's gonna get, but this is bad. This is already bad. So they invited to an event. Obviously, they're gonna assume that was a man doing that. So she's like, "All right, Pug, you're gonna go. It's in this log cabin or whatever." And Nikki's gonna feed him misogynistic things to say because this guy is just so pure that he can't even pretend to say sexist things. So he goes in there, and it is a complete fucking farce. They are saying shit that they shouldn't be saying in universe. I've had that criticism kind of with all the meta, like talking about sexist people or whatever in the show, sexist criticisms of the show, things like that. Where I haven't really said too much of it though, but the reason why it can't really truly be clever is because, for one, there's no subtlety at all. And for two, it doesn't make sense in universe. So there's a point where a character even says, "Lady Thor, what the hell's up with that?" And I'm thinking to myself, how do they know who Lady Thor is? How do they know anything about that? Lady Thor was in Asgard and then on other planets. Like in other places or other dimensions or whatever, wherever they went in Thor: Love and Thunder. How do they know about that? They shouldn't know about that, but we're infusing Twitter arguments into our show because we're fucking that full of ourselves that we're just gonna like put straw man arguments against our universe and against our show just right there in the show. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, and Todd, he turns out to be Hulk King, which is fucking obvious. It was obvious from the moment he started asking about her and saying she's a specimen and all that. It's been obvious. I didn't say anything about it because I was like, well, maybe, but it's been pretty obvious, just like the Josh thing was obvious. Some people thought Josh was hulking. I was like, no, it's Todd. But there's a point where he comes up and he's embracing Pug and things like that. And he starts saying things that nobody would say.
Is She-Hulk better than the Hulk? No. Is she as strong as him? Is she as smart as him? No! She wouldn't even have her powers without him, right? So why do we have to act like she earned everything? Here's where I'm at. Superpowers should go to the best person suited for the job, right? Exactly. Right?
Yeah, totally.
Nobody would be saying superheroes should go to people who the right person for the superpower should go to the right person for the jobs. People are walking around with all kinds of superpowers in this show. It definitely doesn't make sense in this show. But come on, really? Oh, she didn't deserve her powers. Who did? What are you talking about? Like, I think her origin was lazy and rushed in this show. But her deserving her powers? Did Peter Parker deserve to get bit by a fucking radioactive spider? What are you talking about? Like there's only a few I can really think of that deserve their powers, kind of. Like Captain America was really, he had really strong morals and things like that. So they decided to make him a super soldier, at least the first one. Stuff like that. Iron Man, he was able to use his wits and skills in order to create his Iron Man suit, but that's not a superpower. That's a suit. And a lot of it is freak accidents for superheroes and supervillains. So it doesn't even make sense. I don't even think anybody in the real world would make that argument, especially against She-Hulk, because she's been around forever. Like, for the most part, people have embraced her, at least from the comic books. At least at this point, it just doesn't make any sense. It's just so forced. It is forced, right? It was really pissing me off. It was really getting on my fucking nerves, man. Like, I've seen some videos where people have said some crazy shit where they've been spend the whole video calling She-Hulk a whore and all this other shit. And obviously I don't agree with that, given like bad faith criticisms, because they're essentially paid to shit all over everything, pretty much everything, but especially Star Wars, Marvel, stuff like that. We know who the outrage grifters are. We know the usual suspects and their, bastard children running around YouTube too. We know who they are. But that doesn't mean you need to make an entire show where the villain, are those people. Like, it's sad. It's really sad, right? Like, this is the same universe that gave us Winter Soldier and Civil War and all this Infinity War. Now we stooped so low that we have a season of a show where the final villain, the main villains, that you barely really spent much time on throughout the series up until really this episode. You have your final villains be like sexist trolls on Twitter. Like, what are we talking about here? We're having Twitter arguments in movies and TV shows now. Like with Thor, I said this, with Gore, the God Butcher, having that little exchange with Jane Foster. With Jane Foster at the end of Thor: Love and Thunder. And Lady Thor, no, I'm Mighty Thor, I'm Jane Foster, the Doctor, or whatever. It's cringy as fuck, dude, right? Like, I don't agree with, some things that other people say, but that doesn't mean it needs to be in movies and shows. You're supposed to be above that, right? You're supposed to entertain people. It shouldn't be about showing certain people that have issues with your show, right? Leave that to the, the people arguing back at those people on Twitter. Like, keep that shit the fuck out of here. But anyway, that shit pissed me off. But anyway, Abomination comes in, and apparently he's been having these meetings or whatever. And that's why he's been turned into Abomination, because he wants to show these men power or something like that. I guess he's Tom Cruise from Magnolia. I don't fucking know. Respect the cock, I guess. It's so stupid. It's so dumb. And I'm thinking immediately, like, well, what does he do with the inhibitor? And apparently we wait until the credits to see that, because he, I guess, puts it on his chicken. It's fucking so shit. And yeah, it's really convenient, right? She comes to see Abomination, and oh my god, they just happen to be at the cabin at his, at his place or by his place or whatever. And Nikki and Pug are there, and She-Hulk doesn't even know about it. And so she ends up walking in on them while Pug and Nikki are there, and it's too much. And then so they know how messy it is, so they make it even more messy, where Titania bursts in and Hulk comes out of nowhere, and it's nonsense. And so She-Hulk finally just goes, all right, enough, right, and stops things. Then she jumps out of the show on the Disney Plus screen or whatever, and jumps into one of the other slots or one of the other shows. And I guess it's supposed to be maybe a behind the scenes thing because she jumps into it, she gets into the real world, and she actually confronts the writers of She-Hulk. And she's like, "This is messy," and they're like saying a bunch of like really stupid things, like, "Oh, the next season should be all in her mind, or all in a dream, or something like that." And it's like, you guys are pretending to not be bad writers for this thing, and it's supposed to be funny. It's not funny at all because you are bad writers. Like, at least when it comes to this show, you're terrible. This has been terrible. This right now is actively terrible. You wrote this. But anyway, they're like, she's like, "Oh, I want to talk to Kevin." And they're like, "Oh, you can't talk to Kevin. Oh no." It's like, okay, so Kevin Feige's that full of himself now at this point? He's gotten way too big for himself. All right. But she's going to go talk to Kevin. This whole time she's She-Hulk, by the way. So you got this shitty ass CGI, and it's supposed to be in our world. So she goes to talk to Kevin. Kevin turns out to be this AI robot or whatever. They have this little meta conversation asking about, why does it have to end with a big fight scene, and where are the X-Men and stuff like that. It's terrible. They even make a joke about the shitty CGI, and I was like, okay, well, that's not funny, especially with the stuff coming out with the visual effects artists and how disgruntled they have been when it comes to working with the MCU. It's just really bad taste.
Wait, so you're the one who's making all the decisions here?
I will answer your questions, but you must first transform back to Jennifer.
Why?
You are very expensive.
Oh, sure.
But wait until the camera is off you. The visual effects team has moved on to another project.
Okay.
There, do it now.
Better?
Thank you.
So they decide to essentially just drop the finale. Not that the finale shouldn't be like a big thing or whatever, because I thought that was the worst part of WandaVision, is that it turned into some big nonsense at the end, along with some of the movies and things like that. Not that it should be smaller, we should like not be doing that, but essentially that there should be no finale at all. Daredevil is just there because she asked Kevin Feige, or Kevin the robot, for it. And it really just, she comes back, right? And she's She-Hulk, even though within the show she should still, have the inhibitor and stuff like that, but whatever. She still She-Hulk, and she confronts Todd, and they're getting arrested, and it's in the daytime now, and really the finale just didn't happen, right? And I guess that's their way of being cheeky. Oh, this is clever, right? No, it's not clever at all. And I guess she's gonna end up suing them or whatever. So, you see her going to court to sue him. And then at the end, it turns into the ending of a Fast and Furious movie, right? Where they're all like grouping together for, to eat. I guess it's not like a barbecue or something, or maybe it was, but that's what it made me think of, especially when Hulk pulled up. Like Hulk just came up and he has his son with him. And it's like, wow, people were excited to get World War Hulk and get a full storyline with this. He just shows up at the end like he's Dom from Fast and Furious. Hey, here's my boy. It's all about family, right? It is fucking terrible. And Daredevil's there. I guess maybe they actually do have a legitimate relationship or anything. So the people complaining that she just hooks up with everybody, hey, this is a legitimate relationship. And so is the Josh thing. So I guess she didn't actually hook up with these two. She only hooked up with that first guy. So I don't know. Maybe that'll shut some people up. I don't know. Probably not. But yeah, their CG doesn't look that good too. I've said before, like even Smart Hulk doesn't look all that great, but he does look better than She-Hulk, but not that great. And I think that's it. Like there's a little bit of banter or whatever. Like we're talking about babies, huh? I was like, damn, they've had like, have they even gone on a official date yet? Like they only really had spent that night fighting crime and then they hooked up. So I don't know why we're talking about babies. But anyway, that's it. Yeah, this is terrible. This is garbage. I think the writing is bad. I don't think things are well developed. I think the characters, like I've said before, have no dimension and mean nothing. You gave Nikki a little bit of something to do every now and then, but for the most part, she's just the supportive best friend, and that's it. Pug still does that thing where he moves his face with everything. What's going on? Like at the beginning of the episode, it's supposed to be something serious, talking about jail or whatever. It's like, oh God, you gotta stay here. Whatever. It's making these faces and shit. And it's like, really? Like I have to imagine the actor hates it. He's like, hey, can I actually act well in this now? Or oh, you still want me to act like an idiot? Oh, cool. You still want me to make all these stupid ass goofy faces? All right, cool. Yeah, it's not good, man. It's just not good. And, it doesn't help that now we have like really no finale, right? Like, and it wasn't that clever or that funny. So it's just kind of, I don't know, just left a bad taste in my mouth. Like all the the meta shit. I'm tired of the meta shit, man. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. It just feels like laziness or an excuse to be lazy. Well, yeah, we had like no finale, right? And then there's a thing where like Todd put the blood of She-Hulk. Somehow he synthesized it. I don't know how this group of like Manosphere dudes are like doing like synthesizing blood. And I don't know. I don't care either. But the blood thing becomes nothing now because he originally he shot into himself and became like a Hulk, but they went against that now, so that meant nothing. I was like, I don't know. I don't know. This is terrible. I didn't like it at all. So yeah, that's the She-Hulk finale. That's the entire She-Hulk show. This has gone on for way longer than I wanted it to. And yeah, it's not good. People are gonna defend it. Man, I don't know how you defend this finale. I don't know because it's just that bad. It is embarrassingly bad. But people are gonna defend it anyway because it's the MCU, and I'm kind of getting tired of that. But whatever, we got to get used to it. But anyway, that's She-Hulk. Didn't like it. Didn't care for it. It's a bad show. I was gonna say mediocre. It's just bad. But whatever. We're done.